Okay, so this appears on YouTube.
Does it?
Yeah.
So everything I say will be committed to memory forever and ever.
Committed to the universe.
To the cloud forever and ever.
Mm-hmm.
So if I sound like a twit...
You won't.
How do you know?
Because I know. I just know, Angelica.
You know me well.
Angelica Arnott.
Hello, Chuck.
Ni la Bazetta. Welcome to the Regenerative Journey, and welcome to your
my life. Welcome to my life. Your life.
Your mother-in-law's loft.
Oh, I know the loft very well.
Here at Hannah Minnow.
Such a great space.
So we are sitting up here in the loft. I've done a few interviews up here before. Well, two I think. And it's a great spot.
It is.
The idea being that we're looking out over the dam, or the lake as some people call it, but we just call it as the dam. Down looking towards the southern part of the world. We are looking at unfortunately some turbines. Not sure if I've mentioned some previous intros for some interviews for season 5. I have mentioned my disdain for wind farms, and there's some good reasons behind that, which I won't go into now because it's all about you, not them. But we are looking at them, sort of.
Well, I'm hoping we can be strategic and plant something just about here, so we block them out from the garden view. What do you think?
I reckon we work something out.
I know we're not going to be able to hide them. They're monstrous, but I don't think we need to have them spoil our view while we're out here.
In our face.
No.
Which they're not really. They are. You look for them and you can see them. But nonetheless, Angelica, as is the name of the podcast, The Regenerative Journey, I'm here to dig deep into a deep dive. I know I said that once
deep
and you
dive.
weren't. You said that sounds silly. This is interesting because I know you better than anyone in the world, I think. Probably even better than myself. And I was thinking about the research for this. Do I research? Do I not? I didn't do any research.
You didn't?
Well, there wasn't many stones unturned.
Well, I thought you were going to dig up some dirt that I didn't even know.
Look, I know you were young and needed
forgotten.
the money, so it's all in the past.
I know. I had a very boring upbringing. There was probably no dirt on me that hasn't already been dug up.
Now, before we get to that, I just want to, as I said, we're sitting in Mama's loft. We're looking out over landscape.
So beautiful.
What does it mean? What does it mean to you? Like, you know, why? Well, I know we're going to get to why you're here, but I mean,
what this has become to me.
What has this become to you? Yeah. What does it mean to you to sit up here on a Saturday morning with the wind whistling through that weeping willow?
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me on your show. What a privilege it is. Not only
it's taken me 5 seasons to get there.
To be here with you, but to have dialogue with you uninterrupted, or so we think. Kids are off wandering around the place and hopefully they won't end up paddling around in the dam. But to have the opportunity to just have a conversation and hear thoughts out loud and ask these questions, because I think, in our busy lives we forget to dive deep into each other's dreams, desires, aspirations, whatever you want to call them.
Goals.
Fantasies. Although I'm trying to eliminate the goal-oriented lifestyle. It's driving me a little bit batty, but just to hear ourselves have a conversation, and hopefully that will be not too boring for your listeners. But
we better keep in mind that there's other people listening.
Yes, I will. We'll keep it on board.
Don't say something rude.
So back to your question, what does this mean to me and what it has become to me? There's a journey in there, and there's a lot of information and a lot of thoughts about that, because I think when I first arrived at the farm, I just didn't understand the vastness of it all, the overwhelm of being in a place that demanded so much of your time and energy and focus, that there didn't seem to be much room for anything else. And I found it very confronting in more ways than one. The fact that we, you had to keep working when you're out here, and I always thought that we were here to relax and be in the country environment and enjoy all of those wonderful, advantages of being in country, fresh air and the likes. But I found it just a little bit confronting in terms of there was nowhere to run and hide. You had to really deal with who you are, what you are, and without the distractions of being in the city. And I found that a little bit, confronting, as I said. But over time, I have come to learn that that's been the greatest lesson for me out here. To slow down, to be at one with the pace of things here, and not to be challenged by that, and to really enjoy, the learning, I guess. And you've taught me so much about being in nature that, of course, I just see now that what I was missing in the first place was that I just didn't have that in my upbringing, and it was all new to me. So I'm grateful to be here now. I have dialogue with nature now. I have an understanding and appreciation now that I didn't have when we first got here. So yeah, big journey.
And not over.
Oh, certainly not. No, actually, interesting, not over, just beginning. And I think it's just turned around for me, and I guess, the world's feeling a little unstable now, and the only time I really feel a sense of stability and safety is when we're here. So, yes, that's bringing up a lot.
COVID there were some good things about COVID, wasn't there?
I think there's been more good things about COVID than not, to be honest.
Which has always been it's always a choice, isn't it? That, adversity presents opportunity, or opportunity for growth and so on, or opportunity to fall in a heap.
Well, we've chosen not to fall in a heap, and I think we've chosen to see that we have to get fit and deal with the changes that are coming, because I think it's only just begun. And that means we have to build some resilience, not just for us, but for our children. And so that's my driver, and I'm pretty sure that's yours too, if I can speak on your behalf. I think we're driven to, well, firstly, I know we have to get fit in many ways, but spiritually fit is one of my biggest concerns.
Goals? Is that one of your biggest goals?
Well, that would be a goal. All right, that's a goal. I want to get spiritually fit, because I know that when making decisions about our future for us and our children and our community and our family at large, I don't think we want to do it through the prism of fear or lack of abundance, or I think we need to do it through the eyes of creating a world that is sustainable for us and our community, that enables growth and love, and we can't do that if we're afraid. So that's how I'm feeling right now, anyway. That's my driver.
I'm a bit of a driver too sometimes.
Yeah, well, you drive me crazy most of the time, but hey, love you to bits, babe.
That's my job. Yeah. Okay, let's step back in time to, where do you want to start? You did mention before your early childhood. Let's go back to that, because it's really about the steps and stages along the way to your in your journey. Where do you want to start?
Well,
do you want to start? I mean, this is going to be the interesting thing. I kind of know stuff, so I don't want to be too promptive. Is that a word? Preemptive.
No, look, I'm not big on dredging up the past either. So it's always been a tricky conversation for me when people ask me where I've been, what I've done, where I've come from. It's going
to be a pretty short interview this time.
We're back to the chase.
Angelica, that was lovely. Thank you.
All right, I can go now. No. Well, how far back do you want to go? Is it interesting that far back?
Well, I guess, heritage, Nun. I mean, that's probably in it, and both sides. I mean, because your heritage makes up you.
It does, and I have a rich heritage in terms of my father being an Italian, my mother being an Australian, and probably raised in a tumultuous situation that was very loving. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they were young, and Mum and Dad were young when they got married. Mum was 16, I think, when she had her first child. And they were learning all their life lessons while they were married and raising children. And it was confronting to watch as a child. I remember growing up in that dynamic, thinking there's something not right here. But I knew I was safe and I knew I was loved, so it wasn't too traumatic, but it was a little off. And I was raised in suburban Victoria, and I just found that whole landscape of living was depressing. And I knew it. I was at ill ease with it all when I was young, and I remembered having moments of just trying to plan my escape, and that was very clear that I just wanted to get out of there. And I did, as fast as I could. And then my journey began. I just sort of, went to work, and I fell into all of my career paths along the way, excuse me, without much planning and forethought. So I just kind of rolled along.
Before we roll along further, can we just go back to, say, Nun, your father, and kind of, because I guess I'm looking at his journey to Australia, and then what that created for him, foundationally, and then you as a daughter of him.
Yeah, it's a big one, because as Dad's sort of moving into his final stages, I have a lot of recall about that, and there was a lot of stuff that wasn't said between us, and it's really sad, because I don't think I'm going to have those conversations with him now. But yes, he was on a boat out from Stromboli, the island of Stromboli in Sicily, when he was 15, and he arrived on the Australian shores. I don't have any tissues, do you? I've got a runny nose.
You keep talking, I'll go around one up.
And he was collected at the docks from his brothers and thrown into work the next day, basically.
In Melbourne, got to Melbourne.
In Melbourne, yes. And he went straight to the fruit markets in Footscray, I think it was. And Footscray. And he worked every day of his life from that moment on. But he did not have a great command of the English language, and unfortunately the Sicilian dialect that he vaguely recalls now. It's all right, darling. I can manage. I can just.
No, this is a few
minutes. I can use my sleeve.
No.
Okay. And anyway, so Daddy just knew work. That was his survivalist mentality. He worked. He provided for his family, and he was a good, honourable man. And the lessons I learnt from my father were, many. But one of the main ones were, I'm a bit tongue-tied. Right, thank you. Maybe I get a little bit emotional talking about my dad. Were life lessons about food, and where your food comes from, and how important meal times were together as a family. And that was a gift he gave me. And food is medicine as well. For an uneducated man, he had a lot of wisdom and knowledge about what it took to heal any malaise. So if anyone was unwell, he'd pop off into the kitchen and make something that he thought was appropriate to help heal. And that's a gift he gave me.
He's a kind of a shaman's not the right word, but
a medicine man, maybe.
Man,
yeah. So yes, and that was just innate to him. That was just an instinct that he knew, how to look after us.
Okay, I'm just going to adjust your microphone there on your.
You just want to get touchy-feely. Thank you.
How's that?
Better.
Sitting all right?
Yep, it's fine.
Proceed.
Yeah, so that's it, really. What else do you need to know? You know all the other stuff. I don't think it's that interesting.
No one else does. Well, other people do, but not as many as I hope they're going to hear this. But I guess, because we reference Nun a lot. He's an amazing gentleman who when I asked for your hand in marriage, because people did that still then.
They still do.
I remember very clearly at David, your brother's house.
Yes.
Walking up the stairs.
Yes.
I guess they knew or something was up.
Oh, maybe. They had
you
an
told
inkling.
them?
No, of
said,
course
hey,
not.
this
No,
bloke's gonna turn up.
no, it was a secret, and I'm good at keeping secrets. Not really.
So not.
No, of course I didn't.
Anyway,
He
that
didn't
was
know.
a good one to keep.
Yeah. God love him.
So, okay, fast forward a little bit to escaping the family kind of.
I don't know. Well, I just made a plan to get out of there. I left home really early, and I started working as a secretary as soon as I left school.
16.
Yeah, 17 and 17. And then I just knew that wasn't for me either. So I was planning and conniving and scheming to further my acting career, which I'd always wanted to do. And I got myself an agent as fast as I could, and I started working in doing bit parts in TV series. And then
with how much acting experience?
Not a huge amount, but I just had a lot of chutzpah, and I found an agent, and I was able to just get the work. And
you're a bit of a sort too.
And it was a bit of a sort. No, not really. Yeah. And then somehow I fell into a modelling career because I decided that's what I was going to do, because someone offered me the opportunity to do that. There was much more money in modelling, and I loved it. It was just a fantastic career. I had a ball. And then again, somebody offered me an opportunity to be in a band, and I took that as well. So without going into all the detail, that's how my career progressed. It was pretty much just being open to the opportunity and saying yes. And I had no resistance to any of it, because I just felt confident in all of those decisions. I just had no doubt. And that's just who I am. If it feels right, I just say, yes, here we are. And so, yeah, and then that's how I travelled along until I met you.
No, there's a big gap there. Don't be sneaking out of there. What were the TV shows you were in there before?
Oh, God. Well, the last one I did was Home and Away.
But that's fast forwarding.
That's fast forwarding. And then I did all the cop shops and the Sullivans and
Cop Shop with
Tucker.
What was his name? Gil Tucker.
Yeah, that's right.
Gil Tucker?
Yeah.
Did you work with Gil?
Oh, probably. No, I don't think
he was a little guy, the
no,
sort of gingery hair.
Yeah.
He would have been on it.
Yeah, I don't think I worked with him. I can't remember, to be honest.
He
and all those Carson's Laws and Carson's Law and all of those, Australian TV series.
Crawford
Productions.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where I got my first job, actually. Cop Shop, I think it was. And then, yes, so that was my lofty career.
So band, because there's a good story about the band, about how you all sort of came to, for those, you tell a story. I don't want to take
how the Shanteezies evolved. Yeah. Well, yes, again, it was just one of those opportunities. A girlfriend of mine said that she'd like me to come over to her house to sing some songs. And I thought that'd be fun, and we popped a bottle of champagne, and we all sat around singing, and she introduced me to some of the members that are in the band now. And we did that on a Thursday evening just for a few months, and then I decided that they were all much better singers, and I thought maybe I won't continue on doing that. And they rang me and harassed me until I came back. And then we started rehearsing for one of the girls' birthday parties, Toddy Goldsmith's birthday.
And this is what year, roughly?
Oh,
just
God,
to put
90...
Put you on the spot. No, 1987. Yeah.
1987. And her father was the nightclub owner of the Underground in Melbourne, Brian Goldsmith. And God bless his soul, what a guy. And he came up with the name for the band, and he decided that if we were to get serious, he would give us a residency at the Underground for 6 weeks. We did that, and during that time we had a record rep come in and signed us to Mushroom Records. And within, I think it was about a month, we had our first album, our first single released.
Which was?
Which was Witch Queen of New Orleans.
That's it.
Which is fantastic.
Not an original, but
not an original. It was a cover.
I'm not taking away from that. It's
testing
awesome.
the waters, and it did really well, and that's how our story began. And we had a fantastic time touring Australia, and I saw Australia and the industry in its day, where live music was a thing, and you'd travel around and you'd go from town to town, and you'd be playing at all the pubs and clubs, and they'd be packed. And that was before nightclubs were a big thing. And we had a great time. That's where I forged all my true friendships and got to see Australia.
So, I mean, as a male, a young Australian male,
Yeah.
I was.
You,
I still
not me.
am. I still am. Well, I'm not sure. Are you?
No, I am.
Are you a female?
No,
I'm not a biologist, so I can't tell.
Don't be cheeky.
We'll have that conversation at some point. I'm not allowed to tell anyway. So you were 4 good-looking women
Yes, we were.
who were singing, and like it was quite a new. It was, because I know there'd been sort of duos that kind of in that area, late 70s, early 80s Aussie duos, kind of ladies, and
Yeah.
we met a few on the
We
tour.
did.
And individuals, but I guess 4 girls and 4 guys on the instruments and so on, musos. That was a new thing, wasn't it? That was quite a
I think we were
unique
quite innovative.
act.
Yeah, we were. There wasn't anything like us in Australia at that time. There was Bananarama. I think they were in.
There's only 2 of them.
No, there were
Oh,
2,
there's only 2. But was there more?
3.
They came out here, didn't they?
I did. I think there's only
Yeah.
2. There was only 2 then. But
Yeah. Okay.
anyway,
Maybe 3.
that there was. Yes, we were quite original in terms of. The lineup, and we had a boy band, and we were strong and fun, and we weren't music cred, but we sure as hell knew how to put on a good show.
Fun.
And yeah, so we played to packed houses most of the time, and we had a really fun run.
Well, you also opened a few AFL grand finals. And
We did.
that
How
sort
do
of
you
stuff.
remember that?
Oh, you told
must
me.
have been.
I
following
Googled.
us.
No.
You Googlised us?
It would just come up in conversation. In conversation, I don't know, over the last how many years.
Really? I'd forgotten that. Okay.
Yeah, but that's quite a thing, because that's almost the pinnacle of Aussie
Maybe.
music. Barnsley's opened a few, and
And then the Chantusies came on.
yeah,
I remember running on and running off as fast as I could. So yes, it was.
well, and that would have
was
been the old MCG too, when they probably packed 110,000 people in there.
No, I don't think we did the MCG.
Didn't you?
No,
Would you have done the?
no, I think it was in Sydney somewhere.
Oh, okay.
At the would it have been at the cricket
Would have
ground there?
it would have been cricket ground probably, yeah,
Yeah.
because that was before the Homebush and so on.
Oh yeah, no, we were truly famous, honey. Like we
Well,
had some highlights.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at all.
Yes.
And then there was kind of the opportunity to, there was a potential to go overseas.
We did get the offer from Stock Aitken and Waterman, and
Who had made Kylie
famous,
Rick
and
Ashley.
we had some resistance from the boys at that time. They didn't want to do that, so that was a big no. Don't regret that moment, but yeah, we could have gone overseas if we really pushed the idea. Didn't happen, but okay, that's what was meant to happen. It was fine. So it was a good time in my life, and I don't regret for a minute leaving the band and doing what I did next.
Before we go to next, I just want to say I've met all the girls many times, and
Yeah,
they
my
were,
besties.
they were your bridal party for the your wedding, which happened to be my wedding too. Here, actually, right in front of us. Back in the day, and they are the most lovely girls, and I can just see how your friendship was forged on buses, on the road, in pubs, in clubs, doing those gigs. Like, you just have this unspoken kind of respect and sisterhood, and it's the first time I'd been. Again, as a male, you don't necessarily have insight into that sort of thing, and it was just wonder. I learned a lot even just from that the your ups and downs and so on, and you're still buddies after. So how many?
Yeah, very important relationships, and a very important formative, those formative years where they know everything about me, I know everything about them, and I hold them in my heart, and I love them dearly. I don't necessarily see them all the time these days, but yes, forging relationships there at that time in your life, as you know, you've been through, university, made all of those friendships, and hopefully you're going to see a lot of those people tonight. We're going to a party tonight. I can't believe it. It's like 3 years since we've been anywhere.
Smileys.
Yeah. And you know the value of having friends that understand you and love you and don't judge you. And I've just come to a point in my life now where I hold that as one of my sacred sacred, knowings. That's very important to me.
So, band kind of, I mean, yeah, you what was the next stage in your, I mean, and I guess, reference kind of, regenerative kind of, well, not regenerative, it's maybe not the right word, but kind of epiphanies or kind of learnings along the way that you might have had that a bit of a standout, I mean, and often as a result of challenges that you had or anyone has, is those epiphanies and learnings and lessons.
I think as far as a regenerative journey, started for me in terms of my awareness of what was going on, especially when I was in the music industry. There were some choices that one had to make to survive, and I was acutely aware that, and I guess vanity was probably a driver for me. I didn't want to feel unwell while I was touring. I knew I had to be in peak physical condition. I had to kind of, look after myself. And that's something that I was gifted, my dad always stressed that if we weren't nutritionally topped up, we weren't going to survive any grueling routine. And so while we were on the road, fortunately the girls and I all thought the same way, and we looked after our health in terms of it. In the days that we were touring, you couldn't just pop into the local health food shop and get your stores. There was nothing in country Australia. It was hard to find anything healthy. So we'd have to bring all our own food, and we would, have packs of brown rice, and we'd tahini and all our, anything that we could, miso soups, anything we could take with us, and we'd get to a pub and we'd, raid the kitchen there and make our own dinners. And
get a burko.
Get a burko, cook up your broccoli in a burko. It was fun, and it was a great way to, keep us healthy, I guess. And we all exercised as well. And that was something that I just kept, pursuing, and it became a bit obsessive at one point. I remember thinking, well, if I drink, if I smoke, if I take, party drugs, not that I ever did, but I chose not to because I just knew that I wanted to have a long and healthy career. And then that's where it started. I just, knew that by the time I had children, I was obsessed with the idea of making sure that every meal was so full of the nutrients they needed to get through a day, that was, my thing.
Can we just go back to that? Because it was something that you think rock and roll, because really you were right in the middle of the Australian rock and roll scene. You're kind of pop rock, because you had...
Very poppy.
Poppy, yeah. But
more pop than rock.
But you were certainly, right in the middle of, a part of that industry.
The heady days, yeah.
Heady days, yeah. So, I mean, again, referencing young Australian males, you just think, oh, how cool would that be, Lots of chicks, lots of beers, lots of parties, you know. I mean, I'm a boy, you're a girl, so that's kind of my naive perspective. But just stepping back from that, we hear stories, we understand, there is all sorts of... there's a good and a bad side of that whole industry. Bad as in, addiction and kind of just spiralling downwards for some performers for whatever reason. You individually and as a group were pretty, from what I understand, clean.
Yeah, I think somewhat better at it than others. I was really good. Like, they called me Nana, because after a gig I'd probably, I'd chuff home and have a hot chocolate and get into bed and wait for them to, Evie and I probably did that together. The rest of them would sneak in and, tell us all what they got up to, all night long. But we were, on the whole, we were all very health conscious. So... Yeah, it's funny to think that all those years watching, because one of the first things that would happen when you'd roll into a wherever we were, a gig, the first person that would arrive would be the Coke dealer, and that's just the way it was. And I used to think, why do we need that? It's a high just being here. It's a high just getting on stage. It's a high having an audience just, looking up at you, waiting for the next bit to happen. And I loved all of that, and I didn't want to addle any of my, memories of that, because I do recall a lot of some of the famous Australian icons that in their day wiped themselves out with the amount of drugs that they did. And the regret that they have for not being able to recall, their heyday, was so sad. And so, I wanted to be in the moment, I wanted to be present, and I was aware of that even then.
There was another question I had about that, which was something about old mate turning up there. Yeah, look, I mean, I guess that's, for a lot of people, that's like, that's just part of what you do.
Yeah, no,
You're
it was right of passage.
Icon, yeah.
Exactly, it was. But a lot of the boys had this preconceived idea, and I say the boys because it was more the boys that would spiral out of control. That it was, I called it the Jim Morrison complex. That they'd feel that was just the way you had to be. You had to be reckless and abusive to get through it, because it was cool and groovy, but it just was so not cool and groovy. And, I watched a lot of careers spiral out of control, and a lot of lovely lives just get, wasted. And yeah, it was a good lesson to have, I guess, at that age. I've tried to impress my children with that, the fact that I've never done a drug in my day, ever. And tell them stories of how I survived the rock and roll industry without doing any substance abuse at all. And they often look at me and just go, yeah, that's lovely, Mum. Good on you. Like, dag. What? I know.
Well, it says a lot about you.
Well, it just says I'm pretty straight, and like I said, what my dad instilled in me stayed with me always, that we have to look after ourselves.
Well, call it straight or call it
daggy.
No, sensible, but call it kind of true to your values,
Always. Look, I've never had a problem with owning that. And it didn't matter how much peer pressure I was under. I just loved being able to say, no, thank you. That's not for me. And it always felt empowering. I felt it then. I never buckled under the pressure of, everybody else doing it. And I always felt that I could always rise to that level of that energetic level just by osmosis. If I wanted to stay at the party and didn't want to take anything to keep me on a high, anything artificial, I just energetically vibe in, and that was my osmosis moment. And that's how I survived most of the partying and fun times.
And still do, somewhere.
Still doing it, still practicing that, trying to teach my kids how to do that. Don't need drink, don't need anything else, just need to feel the energy and let it take you there. That's it.
What's the next bit then? So that was kind of, when did that stage of your life, which I got to taste when not long after we met, but we'll get to that later. What was the next sort of stage of your...
I remember coming home from a tour one day thinking, I didn't own a home, I didn't own a car, and I wanted to have children. And I was starting to feel like, my life was not going where I wanted it to. And that maternal instinct was starting to stir. And I just thought, this has been the best time of my life, and we could do it forever and ever, because it's just the sense of freedom that goes with it. It's a high. And I just remembered thinking, no, it's time for me to start getting real. And we didn't own cars because we didn't need them. We didn't have to worry about where to live because we all lived together, and we were so used to sharing hotel rooms together. It was just, it's too unstructured for me at that time. So I just remembered saying to the girls, I think I'm ready to stop. And it was about 7 or 8 years down the track. I'd had enough time to work out that was, a chapter in my life. I was ready to move on, and I wanted to have kids. And I did. I decided to go. And it was an easy decision. I've never looked back, and here I am today, and still grateful for the journey that I was on, but happy to have moved away from that.
What else?
And then I went overseas, and I studied acting in LA for a while.
Sorry, can we go back? There was something, just to go back to your, and I guess this is the benefit of knowing you well, just to pump your tyres up for a minute. When you were I think when you're 17, 18 doing your secretary thing, someone nominated you, or somehow you found yourself in a competition.
Oh, I'm not going to tell you about that.
Yes.
No. We don't need... See, this is the uncomfortable bit about talking with you, because you know it all, and I'm not good at dredging up my past. I've told you that.
Well, you don't... It's past, but...
No, we don't need to talk about it.
Do you want me to tell the story?
No, don't you dare. Because anyone can Google it and find out anyway, but it's just... We don't need to go there, because it wasn't part... Don't think it was part of... it's not interesting. Okay,
well, without divulging what that actually was, can I just highlight the fact that for me it was a example of the wonderful, beautiful person you are in your charitable nature.
All right, we've done it now.
Without giving it all away.
So I was Miss Australia Charity Queen. I've never told anyone that. It felt a bit daggy. Come on, let's be honest.
No, I think it's actually. I mean, look.
I nominated myself. Okay, I'm just going to override you there. I nominated myself because I was sitting in the office when I was being a secretary, thinking, no, this is not fun, and flipping through the paper. They used to advertise for people to join the Miss Australia Quest. And I rang the lady and just said, oh, that looks interesting. What does one have to do? And she was at my office in the next hour saying, you would be the first person that's ever rung to volunteer to be in the quest. And I thought, oh, how odd. Okay. And so I was in part of the quest. I ended up raising a whole bunch of money for the Italian community and won Miss Australia Charity Queen. How embarrassing.
Oh, yeah, it's so cool.
No, it was a lovely time. I did.
And you went overseas?
I went overseas and I worked for it was called the Spastic Society in those days.
Yeah.
It's not any longer, clearly. But yeah, I had a really lovely time. I did. I had to travel. I actually won a car, a wardrobe. It was terribly exciting. But it was just one of those things I did without thinking about too seriously.
Well, again, an example of something you didn't have to do.
Well, no, it ended up. No, I understood what I'd done once I was in. I was working with kids with cerebral palsy, and that's when I understood the value of the work that raising money, and I really enjoyed it. It was a really heartfelt moment. Going to the society and volunteering time and enjoying my time and understanding that the disability wasn't as grave as I thought it was. It was just a physical disability. A lot of those kids understood exactly what was going on and were able to communicate in some of the most poetic ways. And one of the most moving stories I heard when I was there was that a young boy was on an excursion with a whole lot of kids from the that they all had cerebral palsy from the society, and when they got to the stop, everybody got off but one was left behind, and he was unable to communicate. Obviously, at the train went on, he got stuck, and then somewhere along the line he wrote a story about what had happened to him, and I read the story and it was just so moving and so hard to read, because he just felt that sense of abandonment, was able to articulate every single emotion that he had, and yet in that time that he was on the train, nobody paid much attention to him because they thought he was unable to, intellectually disabled. And it really drove it home for me that we have to take care of these people and be there and communicate as openly and honestly as we do with each other, our able-bodied friends. So yes, it was a big learning curve for me. I loved it.
I'm glad we went there. See, gold.
Yes, I know, and I bury a lot of my my past. I don't talk about it enough, I guess, because there are moments where yes, we need to recall some of the loveliness.
Okay, back to the next stage. I think you were just saying went to LA.
Went to LA, popped myself into an acting school, had a really lovely time, and was going to come back and
you had no boyfriends up to this
No,
stage,
I had no boyfriends, but I did reconnect with my very first boyfriend, and that story is how that journey was how I became pregnant, had my two children, and that partnership didn't last. And I raised my two children alone for about 11 years, and that's when I met you.
before we go to that bit, I also want to.
I love cutting to the chase, don't I?
But I guess,
Oh, really?
I mean, you were doing Home and Away then.
Yes, I was.
And you, I mean, because I marvel.
I was also doing other, I did VJing for MTV. I was doing Home and Away, and there was something else I did in the meanwhile. When I had Venus, and she was 3 months old, and I went back to work. And that was a whole new set of challenges for me, working as a single parent. I found that quite tricky, and I realised it was not sustainable very early on.
And I remember you saying, with for Home and Away, you kind of didn't you just ring them, or you got to a point when I just can't do this.
No. I knew it was tethering.
Because you were having to drive from Bondi to Palm Beach every day, every morning at 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah, and have to find a babysitter to come in and do the handover at that time of day, and it was pretty unreliable. But Venus got sick. She had measles, and she was at daycare, and I was in the studio, and I got a call from the daycare centre saying she's got a temperature of 42, she's asleep in the playground, and we need you to get here now. I literally saw stars, grabbed my keys and ran, and I ran out of the studio, which is unheard of. And of course the producers rang me and said, "That's just ridiculous, you can't be doing that, you're sacked." And I went, "That's fine, I don't care." And I went home to tend to my beautiful daughter, and I got her well, and I did get sacked, and that was a whole story in itself. But again, get your priorities straight. I needed to be there for my child. There was nobody else I could call on, and that was the end of my acting career. I have no regrets, Charlie. I have no regrets. And what would you do in a situation like that? I'm not going to be pleasing producers over caring for my child. And a temperature of 42 is enough to alarm anybody, isn't it? They had no sympathy or no concern for that at all. Fair enough.
No, it was gutsy. Because you put your family first.
Always.
Always, yeah.
Still doing that.
Still doing that.
Yeah. You're my family, Charlie.
So tell me, then, I'm just trying to get the... Oh, yes, and then what happened?
So then that's when my regenerative journey started. I realised that I had to look after children, emotionally, spiritually, physically, nutritionally, and that became my world. And I also went on a healing journey for myself, because I'd been through some trauma with the separation, and I knew that I had to do the work in order to change my life so that it was healthy and whole, so that I could impart, healthy and whole living on and understanding for my children. I had to do some work, and I went into therapy, and I did as much, self-help. I read every self-help book there was, and you can still see in our library. I looked at it the other day, and God, I did some research. And I had, a wonderful therapist that I saw for about 10 years, who we ended up seeing together when we first got together. I did the work, and I was ready. By the time I met you, I knew I was ready to have a happy, whole, healthy relationship. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to, get through what we had to get through. Blended family, the tyranny of distance that we had to deal with. All of that stuff was, challenging. But I know that we got through it because of the therapy and the work that we did.
Just writing a little note there, little time code. Got some gems there. What?
You're good at doing
well,
that.
I think that. I mean, just looking at the raft of books you've read, it kind of shows, and I've read a few of them. But your level head is very evident. Where when we met, you'd been through adversity, and clearly, because we know people, and we've both got friends, and we kind of, even people we don't know personally, but kind of get, where people sometimes get up to in life. Again, they have a choice. They can choose to do the work.
Yeah.
And acknowledge things, and literally read the books and do the therapy and do the courses or whatever. which you chose to do, and then there's that fork in the road where you can go, well, it's all too hard, and from their perspective is that, well, I guess it's a victim mentality.
Oh, yeah, well, that was something I wasn't going to suffer, and when you've got children and you're their entire world, I was mummy, daddy, grandparents, I was it. I just couldn't bear the thought of being unable to cope, like to be weak emotionally, to be weak spiritually. I knew I had to be robust in my management of myself so that I could give that to them. But it's still a work in progress. I'm still trying to better myself so that I can be an example to them always, and I don't always get it right, and you're witness to that more often than I even understand. But that's our job. That's what we're here to do, and I take that seriously. It's a never-ending quest to improve and to strengthen your resolve, your understanding who you are and what makes you tick is it for me.
Which shows.
Someone's hammering something out.
There's a bird. I think it's a bird out
it's a bird
in the
tapping on
bathroom.
the window.
Yeah,
I thought it was Lordy just
no, he did
hammering
that.
a
He
building.
did that before.
He's so cute.
Let me in. It's quite. We were going to do this in the house.
Oh God.
Well, you were going to have a crack yesterday. It was raining, and I came up here, and it was quite noisy in here. And anyway, the house was the option, but I just knew that there'd be little people.
Oh no, harassing us.
As fun as that would have been to have them cruise around.
It's nice in here, but it's getting cold. I'm starting to feel shaky.
Are you?
Cold, yeah.
Do you want
I
to try and find one of my
it's
blankets?
fine.
No, there'd be a blanket around the corner.
It's all right. I can't be bothered getting up. It's all
Sure?
good. Yeah.
Well, maybe when you get on to the next bit, you can. I can grab you a blankie. What? Then did we meet then?
Then did we meet? I'm pretty sure we met.
Do you want to tell the story about how we met? I'm not sure if I've shared that with on the machine.
A bit of a rough trot, and a very dear friend of mine, Clivey, who we love to pieces, recommended I do Landmark Forum. And he was a landmarkian and decided it would be the best thing for me. And I did. I took myself off, and that's where I met you, because somebody had obviously suggested you do it too.
3 people.
3 people?
Well, 3 kind of occasions when it was
separate occasions.
Suggested.
Oh,
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Well,
Okay.
different people and
Only
kind of
took me
around the
one.
same time. Yeah.
And that's how we met, and that was a life-changing experience on many levels, because it was for me it was like, as I said, I'd done a lot of self-help, and that was like all the modalities that I'd read and been interested in, in one. And it was well crafted and beautifully orchestrated, so that all of that learning was delivered in a way that was so impactful and so easy to absorb that it changed my life. And I know that it moved yours enough for you to let me in. And I've never looked back. I think Landmark was a very, very positive thing for us.
Well, we reference it quite often.
Yeah,
in terms of kind of not religiously, but
no.
it's kind of it is certainly a turning point.
It was, and it worked.
Point.
It worked well for me in that time in my life. I understood that all the unraveling of all the things that I was doing that was holding me back. I was able to let go of, and it was just a lot of freedom from there. It was great. So yes, Landmark.
And I just want to make a point here. Landmark comes up every now and again in these interviews because the guests are kind of being in those circles, and a lot of them have been, and certainly Terry McCloskey we talked about in the interview
of course,
that have just come out.
Too, yeah.
So we don't. There's no kickbacks for me to mention it. I just want to be clear on that, and it's not something like I'm like, oh my God, everyone's got to do it, otherwise you're not going to survive the world. It is just, for again, as I was saying, a reference point for me that was significant. It seems to be the case for many other people who've done it, and we talk about it because it always appears as a turning point in people's life journey, regenerative journeys. So that's why it comes up. It's not because we think everyone should. Well, I think everyone should go and do it. And for me, it was special because not just with the learnings that I had and the stripping down I got, and then the kind of the building back again in those few days. Or we did the advanced course, didn't we? A month later. But can I tell people what?
Yeah, no secrets here.
Well, there's certainly none when you're at the landmark. So there's a thing at Smoko. I'm not sure if I've told this story before, another thing or not. I don't know. But anyway, nonetheless. So there's just before morning tea or Smoko, the person up the front facilitator said, right, we're going to try and help everyone get home tonight or get here in the morning, and just to help coordinate that. Who needs a lift somewhere, and everyone sort of goes, oh, well, who's driving and can take people to, say, Bondi or to Strathfield or whatever else. So there's kind of a little bit of very quick coordination there, and people then go off at Smoko and then have a chat and, say, oh, I saw you, can we go, whatever. Anyway, I saw Angelica's hand. Actually, the first thing I walked in the room, and you were wearing blue jeans and an orange t-shirt and your beautiful black hair, and you were sitting at the front, right up the front, talking to a lady next to you. And I went, oh my God, I didn't know this was like a dating bloody workshop too. This is cool. Anyway, you were stunning, and I went, no, hang on, stop. I'm here to sort some shit out. So, but I couldn't help it at the Smoko little session when they did that. You put your hand up and you were basically saying you were heading to Bondi and whatever. So I sauntered over there at Smoko, and you were still sitting there and chatting away. And I said, oh, excuse me, and couldn't help but notice you were potentially giving people a lift to Bondi. We're at Piermont, sort of near the city, doing the course. And you swung around, put your hand on my leg.
Did I?
Yeah, you were very upfront.
Racy?
Very racy. And a shudder went through me. And then I said, oh, and you said, that's right. I said, oh, you going to Bondi? Maybe could I get a lift this evening? You said, yeah, sure, bro. Anyway, I didn't need to go to Bondi.
I drove you way past Bondi.
No, it was kind of on the way, but it was, anyway.
It was not on the way.
You were good enough not to do.
I didn't make no comment about that at the time.
No, but you had other people in the car, and I remember jumping in that evening with other people, and I think I might have got the front seat. And anyway, off we went, and it was lovely. And then I got a lift the next couple of nights. But meeting you there, and but also having the intent of, I was there to do the work, was the primary objective. Nice to know you were there as well, and kind of understand you and your trials and tribulations as you do that sort of a landmark forum. And then then they do the Tuesday night sort of regather, don't they? The couple of days later, and you and I knew your story, and I was there, and I saw that there was a miracle table.
That's right. And I went over to the miracle table because, as a single parent, I wasn't flush, and I didn't have. I don't think I knew I didn't have the money to do the next round of courses. And you took the opportunity to, take me aside and suggest that you would pay for that course for me if the miracle didn't turn up, because I was asking for a miracle to free up some cash. And I remembered thinking I'd never met anyone quite like you, who was so generous, and I felt a real authentic. It didn't feel like you had an agenda, and you were kind and offered me the money, and I'd never met anybody ever who had done that, had reached out like that. And also, I'd never accepted money from anyone ever in my life, not even my parents. So, and it didn't matter how tough the times were, I just went, no, we'll just have to make do. So it was interesting. I went home that night and I called my mother, and I said, some gorgeous random stranger has offered to pay for my course at Landmark. What do I do? And she said, well, what have you learnt this week? What has been, your greatest learning? And one of the things that I remembered saying to her was, well, I've learnt to trust my instinct a little more, and to not be so wary of men, because my big issue was that I didn't have a male friend, and men were scary, and blah blah blah, because I'd been so traumatized. And I remember hanging up thinking, I'm going to accept the offer, and I'm going to honor the offer, and I'm going to pay him back, and I'm going to let him know that that's the kindest thing that's ever happened to me. And I did, and I left you a message. And here we are today. I still owe you $600.
You do. You gave me 100.
No, I gave you 200.
Well, it was $800.
It was $800. I gave you two,
right.
and I still owe you $6.
Bloody
Anyway, you can
Tough.
hold me to ransom with
Bit
that
of
one.
interest there.
But I'm so glad I did take it. I'm so glad I just let go of all of those, stubborn ego, resistance, moments that I've had forever, where I went, no, I can't take money off a stranger. That's impossible. You'd be indebted to him on all levels. That wouldn't be right. And blah blah blah. It was the best thing I ever did.
And there was some risk in that for me, given the situation I was in at the time. Literally there at the event, and the repercussions of that.
Yeah, you're not going to go into detail,
No, I'm
are you?
not.
No,
I'm
yeah,
not.
Exactly.
No, there's no need to.
Come on, it's your Miss
but I guess,
Australia Charity Queen moment. You can. I'm going to
No.
talk to you now. Good.
No, it wasn't. It's not appropriate. But I guess, and I'm not trying to pump up my own tires, but I guess I was compelled, because there was, because of, again, as you said, because of what I'd learnt that week, and the opportunity that was there to help and contribute to someone else's life, with, again, no strings attached. Like there might have been a 1% attraction going, oh yeah, she's nice. But there was real authenticity, I feel, and I know that was like, why wouldn't I do that?
Well, I've watched you ever since, our lives together. I mean, the way you are in the world, now I understand what you did is just innate to who you are. You're a generous, kind, and, caring person. And whenever you see anybody in need, you reach out. That's what you do. I didn't understand it then because I thought there may have been a bit more of an agenda attached to that. Clearly there was. But
hang on.
you still are that person. And what a beautiful thing. What a beautiful thing that I didn't say no. That I've got to live a life with somebody that is generous beyond all measure. Mr. Arnott, thank you.
Let's then the next bit of that, just to sort of put some context to it all, was we didn't see each other for.
No, we had a 6-month hiatus.
Well, it was Easter. Was that was in like November, December, or somewhere around there.
Yeah, and then we caught up again after the Christmas.
And that was all very we both went out separate ways and kind of sorted some stuff out, and then I think I left some tickets to the Easter show under Mum and Dad's front doormat in Sydney, and I must have had your number or something.
Yeah, no, we were communicating by text. I remember that, and then.
But I did lose your number at some point. I remember.
Yeah, because a tractor ran over your phone. Remember in the paddocks.
That's right. And then James Hardcastle up there at
Nulla.
Nulla. But it was at Boonery or somewhere. It was over the road, over the highway on the western side. And he said that the other day.
What?
He remembers that so clearly.
Was he with you?
He was, it was on his place.
Oh, okay.
And he was driving the tractor, or one of his guys was driving the tractor, and my phone slipped. It was like some old, flip phone thing, and it fell out of my pocket. I jumped out of the tractor or something or other, and it was on the ground. And we laugh about saying, he had a field of mobile phones because he was
buried in the
there. But he remembers that so clearly. It was Easter. I left tickets under the mat. You picked them up and you went.
Another generous moment, and I did, and I went with.
Well, I mean, there was probably a little bit more agenda in that one.
Yeah. Well, we knew we had to find each other. I said I had there was an apparition moment. I remember I was walking around the park at the Centennial Park. It was, yes. And I remember just having you in my head, having thoughts of you, and then I looked out and I saw a tree, in the distance, and I saw what looked like a spinning you, a hologram of you, and I remembered being overwhelmed by that thought, and I went, he's coming into my life, and I knew it. And you were on your way, and you arrived, like my knight in shining armour.
So there's a bit more to that.
Do we have to go there?
No, we don't. No,
because
a few months went by.
A
few months went by. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff around what happened next. Not to dangle too many carrots, but it was just. Well, I guess there were some challenges that we got through.
Yeah, we did. And thanks to Landmark, we met and we were able to get on with business because we met, and knew each other's warts and all.
Yeah.
And so we got all of that stuff out of the way really quickly. Here comes some children.
a bang on the thing. Somebody.
Yeah. Are we going to have to take a break?
No, we don't take breaks.
Oh,
really?
But
what we'll do, I'm going to leave you with a question.
Oh, okay.
Which is, I don't know, what happened next? What was the next bit after that? Well,
we got married and we had children, and we've been on that journey ever since.
There's a bit more to it than that.
I know, but you really extract detail.
The countdown tour, that was pretty cool.
Oh, yes, but is it relevant? I'd rather talk about my regenerative living concepts, if that's all right with you. But meanwhile, I think we're going to have to let a 4-year-old in before he breaks the door down. Oh, that sweet little voice.
Are you coming up or what are you doing? Mummy and I are still working. We're still working. We're doing a recording. Okay, you gotta show Mum.
So cute.
He's very cute.
Hi.
He's got his teddy stuffed in his pants.
You've got bustle bum. What's in there? Teddies. All right, well, Mummy and Daddy are having a chat, so unless you want to come...
Chicken.
There's a chicken up there. It looks like a real chicken, doesn't it?
It does look like a real chicken.
Hey,
Off you go, chicken. Oh my God, that's hilarious. He stuffed all these teddies down his pants.
When we get home, okay?
Isn't he funny? Oh, he's too cute. I think you're going to have to edit some of that out, babe.
No, I've done wheeze halfway through.
No, you can't be putting that in.
Gone, inside, outside, done all sorts of stuff.
Really?
So he's, just roll.
All right, just roll with it.
Don't want to give Reese too much work.
Okay.
Oh, jeez, I'll look at that up. So what, we got married. I guess is the interesting thing is that, again, I know we got married here at Handamino.
We had the most beautiful...
Oh no, what about the engagement? That was quite funny. When I asked you to marry me, where we went.
Oh, on a picnic.
Yeah.
I was feeling a little under the weather that day, and we took off and had a picnic not far from here, in a beautiful property that was owned by... Oh no, it wasn't actually on the property, was it? What was the...
Glenella. So over towards Mount Collins, towards Cowra from here, where the Burra River joins the Lachlan.
Thank you.
But we went over to Bennett Springs.
That's
well,
right.
we had to go through Bennett Springs which is the Burra River, to get there. And I'd prepared
the sweetest picnic.
A little picnic, cup of tea, because I knew that spot. And I thought, on the way over there, we're going over there to collect acorns, that's right.
That's right.
Because Nick Rogers, my best mate, his mother, Vivian, had been, and still is, a wonderful oak tree grower and lover. And I knew there were some acorns over there I'd want to get my hands on.
And so he set the scene.
Tried to.
Tricked me into thinking we were just going on a little picnic to get acorns, but actually, dun dun dun.
Yeah, so we had cups of tea, little whatever else, thermos, and I was making the tea, and when Angelica wasn't looking, I might have said, "Hey, look, is that a platypus down there?" I dropped a little $2 like out of a skill tester machine ring
in my tea,
engagement ring in the tea. Anyway, hoping that she wasn't going to choke on it, I thought, well, this will be the moment where she'll get to the bottom of the cup, see something shiny in there, and go, "Oh my God!"
Oh, is that
so? We were sitting there, and I was just, anxious and nervous and looking around, and you were feeling a bit under the weather anyway.
Yeah, so I didn't notice you were feeling uptight.
So yeah, didn't know. And then anyway, and I think I might have said, "Oh look, trying to expedite things a little." So we probably should get going pretty soon. And then so you promptly
sculled
a bit more, wanted. And then just turfed what was in there over her shoulder.
And clink.
And you heard a clink, and I was
going,
"What was that?" Lucky you didn't do that into the river.
Holy moly! Well, lucky it wasn't a real ring.
Well, that was why I didn't have a real in there.
Too cute. And then I fossicked around to find my $2 special. and went, "No, you can't be asking me to marry you." And I think I punched you.
Yeah, I think you did.
I think I punched you.
I'm still recovering.
Yeah, no, but it was such a cute moment. And then, of course, I couldn't tell anyone because you hadn't asked Dad, so holding that secret in was tricky.
But the girls, you told the girls?
Yeah, I told the babies, yeah, of course. Yeah. And, yeah, so that was a beautiful day.
And then we went on a, this is not a trip down memory lane for everyone, I guess it's part of it, but...
It is for me, I've forgotten all of this.
Can I just say, the one last little bit of input I want to have here is that we, I think later that year, you went on the, we'd already been on the countdown tour. So,
yes.
So Michael Gudinski had put together a countdown tour, so there was, 20 years worth of Aussie rock sort of legends that had been signed to Mushroom, his label, so and we went for 3 weeks, and I was kind of the roadie / groupie / whatever.
Fun guy.
Yeah, it was so funny. It was. I met so many amazing Australian rock and roll music icons. It was fantastic.
And what was interesting about that whole moment was how you slotted in, and it was like you'd been in rock and roll all your life. And I was really glad for the opportunity for you to see what my life was like before I met you, and how that really gave you a bit more of an awareness of where I'd been, what I'd been up to, and absolutely. And I was grateful for that. But you really took off, and I thought if you hadn't done ag science at uni, you should have just skipped that bit and joined a band. You would have just been carving it up.
I might have gone off.
You would have been one of those Jim Morrison moments where you just overdid it.
I think so.
But it was, it was a great thing, wasn't it? It was a great moment just to be away from everything here and in that environment, and to realise another part of your personality, because you really were on stage with the cowbell.
Yeah, we got in Brisbane. In
Brisbane at the entertainment centre, there was Charlie on stage hammering a cowbell like he knew exactly how to keep time. Like, no, he didn't.
I did.
And I think somebody had done your makeup that night too, so you had eyeliner on.
Yeah, I was trying to look like Brian Mannix.
Oh, hilarious. It was so fun. Anyway, it was a great memory.
It was. And the other funny memory was we'd get around on buses from the hotel to the gigs. And this particular moment there was, I was sitting just opposite or near James Rain from Aussie Crawl, and we're all sort of, like getting off a plane, you're sort of waiting for someone to get in front of you and get out of the way and whatever. And I remember standing up, and he must have been coming from behind.
Yep, down the aisle.
And I said, "After you, Rainsy."
I still remember the look on his face, like, Rainsy?
I don't think anyone had called him Rainsy ever. No one had ever thought that was a good thing to do.
I think he took it well, though.
Well, he looked at me, and then he decided not to punch me in the head. And then
he's not that tough, trust me.
No, but it was quite funny.
No, it was a cute moment. But you get away with that sort of stuff.
I couldn't help myself.
You can be cheeky and irreverent, and people let you go with that.
Oh, it's all about timing.
Yeah.
So let's jump to kind of, not that stuff wasn't interesting, but kind of, I want to sort of dig in a bit more your philosophy. We've got a candle burning here, and before we sat down, you kind of had a few words to say and what you were trying to, I guess, bring into the world.
Yeah. You're talking about our angels and guides.
Yeah, we're sort of jumping to that, but I guess let's just do that now. Talk about that, because I think it's given the book I've just finished reading.
Yeah.
The
Elementals.
About the Elementals by Ogilvy Crombie, who was a Scottish interesting guy, really interesting guy.
What was he? Is he?
Well, he was as a child. He was quite ill in the Second World War. I think it was trying to get the timing right there. Now, no, I don't think it was the First World War. He died when he was, I reckon that was the First World War, and they said you've got to get, you can't go to war because you're sick, but he was a signaller. He was a signaller, that's what he was, in the Navy, I think that's right. Anyway, so he had a pretty low-key life in terms of activity because I think he had a dicky heart from when he was a child.
Right.
However, that gave him time to sort of be very creative and artistic and his acting and all sorts of strange stuff. But he also had this other side of him which was fascinating, and his relationship with nature, and it took many decades for him to get to a point where he could communicate with and see the elementals and nature spirits. So I guess that's my understanding of that, or appreciation has been there for a long time, but in terms of just understanding that a bit more and kind of steps towards that as a part of one's life. But you've always been, that's kind of from a, unseen help point of view, that's been part of your life for a long time.
It has, and I've always acknowledged that there has been a presence surrounding me, and I knew it when I was young, I knew it when I was a little girl, and I remember seeing fairies dancing around on my bed, on windowsills. Whenever I was sort of in my space alone, I felt the presence of, and I remember the visions of. And I think somewhere in those growing years we forget that, and we kind of move away from that understanding or knowingness. And then I started to feel the need to be connected to the elementals, and I think it might have been triggered by Lila, going into Persia, actually going into the Steiner school, and the conversations started again about being in touch with the elemental spirits. And then I recalled the conversations that I used to have with what I believed to be my guardian angel, and I physically felt that presence on my shoulder, on my right shoulder, always. And I recalled having conversations about, what I needed to be doing on the planet. What is my purpose here? Can you help me? Can you guide me? And I wanted to bring that conversation back, and I wanted to reignite that relationship. And then that's just something that I've tried to do alone, and I felt a little bit awkward about it because I didn't know how to call in the energy, call in the spirits in an authentic, respectful way. And since we started our Steiner Spirit Group, which is another part of our journey we can discuss somewhere, that conversation has become easy, talking to our spirits, because obviously acknowledging that they're there and how important they are to us and our everyday, living. And they can assist us in ways that we feel, empowered and strengthened by. So I always call in the angels when I feel a bit challenged. I was a bit nervous coming here to talk to you because I knew that you'd talk to me about my past, and I'm not comfortable with that, as you can tell. It's not as fluid as I'd like to be because I've stored a lot of that memory away, and it's not where I naturally go. And I asked for my guides to be with me, to help me be here present with you in an authentic, loving, kind way. And that just gives me the confidence to feel like I'm open to being guided into the space I want to be.
Was that something that Nan, your mum, kind of talked about or did, or introduced you to?
Yes, I don't know so much about
Nan.
Nan, my beautiful mother, who is a legend, who is a wonderful stoic, who is caring for my ailing father alone. She is my mentor, my greatest love. I'm going to cry because I love my mum.
I can't believe you haven't cried and we're an hour and 12 minutes.
I was such a soft. Really? That long?
Yeah, I thought the first 5 you'd be blubbing.
Yeah, no, it has been a thing. Mum is an amazing human being. And in the face of adversity, I've never seen anybody just rise to the occasion more than my mother. What a woman. Yes, she never complains about her life. She understands that this is her lot. She was here to look after the children, and she has done that, committed to that 150%.
Well, her own children and grandchildren.
And she's on the planet now, strong and wise and so needed, because she has such a wealth of information to impart, and we revere her. She's in the highest esteem. She's the most wonderful
classic
human being. And Mum was a bit of a spook in a day, so she would. I remember, sitting around the table talking about, all things esoteric, and we'd all be rolling our eyes, thinking, "What a nutbag!" But of course, she set me on my, my journey, as well. So I thank her for that. I thank her for opening up the spirit world to me. And I don't think she fully understood what she was doing. She just had an innate understanding that there was more to life than what we see here on this, earthly plane. Yeah, so definitely. But as, we watch Lila here in the garden conversing with fairies, and she does have dialogue with fairies, and it's just so beautiful and humbling to watch. that it has activated our awareness too. And I think that we can't not acknowledge that these elemental spirits are with us, and that we have a commitment, I think, to them to build a relationship, to create awareness, to be in nature with them, to listen to what we need to know, because they have stories they need to tell us too.
And they want to cooperate. Like they're just hanging out for us to ask them for help, you know.
Well, I think they need us to cooperate. I think they need us to understand that they're here for a reason, and that we have to build reverence and understanding that, you know, they're here to build. What are they here to do? To create, you know, a relationship with us so that we are respectful with everything we do out here. Because we understand that there's a life form beyond everything that we see that we have to, you know, be aware of and treat gently.
Mm. Well, they think generally, well, they're a bit, well, not upset, but they kind of don't get, and as I don't either too, and I'm no saint by any means, you know, the human as species attitude to the planet as a resource to be plundered and used.
And pillaged, exactly.
Yeah. So,
and we're doing a mighty fine job of that, aren't we? So perhaps just by creating this awareness, you know, for us as adults, but also the children, we're changing the attitudes there, and we're building the relationship. I want Lilla and Lordy to understand that there's just more to nature than meets the eye. And I don't want them to be afraid of anything out here. And you're doing a mighty fine job of you know, building encouraging that relationship. You do a great job. I want them to be digging in the dirt and just to seeing the layers of what goes on beneath that. I want them to connect to that. And if they understand that there's a spirit in there that attracts them, that they can have a relationship with, they will always have that reverence for. I think that's going to hold them in good stead.
Tell me about biome in the context of that as well.
Well, you know, we've over-sanitized our world, and we've over-sanitized our children, and we're all so afraid of letting them play in the dirt that we have to really have a good, long, hard look at ourselves about that, because that's the exchange that is so necessary for them to build their biome. They need to be in the dirt. They need to be able to eat, you know, the sheep shit and come home with dirty fingernails and snotty noses, and they need to be out there having their body, you know, communicating with the earth. And if they don't, they're not going to be able to build the gut biome that they're going to need for health as they get older. And it's been such a tricky thing, because we've raised our children in the city where we're all afraid of doing that. You know, we over sanitize, we over, you know, clean our children, we bath them too often, we mop them up too much. Hose them down once a week is probably enough, I'd say. But when we're out here, that feels okay. The kids can feel a bit grubby, and it feels like it should. But when you're in the city, it doesn't. We're all, you know, just making sure they're as pristine as they can be, but it's not serving them. It's just not.
Well, Terry McCosker in the interview the other week, he said, you know, they bathe once. They would bathe once a week. Once is a thing. Once a week, the whole family in a tub, you know, a couple of inches deep of water.
Oh God.
And he said that was like he puts his good health and longevity to that would be a part of that.
Yeah,
biome,
for sure.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense. And we got talking about biome. We got to meet Dr. Zach Bush 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. In Mel Vegas.
Well, yeah, of course, and you know, he drives that conversation home. We have to just we have to understand that that's such an important conversation. We all have to change our thinking there. If our biome's not being exchanged, that's why we kiss so often, isn't it? Isn't that the reason?
That's why I don't wash my beard.
I'm just waiting for you to get really drunk tonight, and I'm going to shave it off and not tell you. So I can kiss you again. No, back to the biome. You know, back to the biome. Let's talk about that more often. Because now I watch the kids lick the dog's face, you know, and I remember Zach saying the best way to exchange your biome is to let your dog dig in the dirt and then come and kiss your kid. And once upon a time, that would have freaked me out, watching a dog lick my child's face. And now I just think it's a normal exchange, and very healthy one. Yes. So.
Any more points on children? Bringing children up, health, psychology, not psychology.
Well, it is my greatest job. It is the job I take most seriously. It's my vocation, and I've been doing it for a long time. And nothing to me is more important than looking after the kids. Nothing. And every day I'm grateful. I wake up and I look at them and I think they're healthy, they're strong, they're here with us, we're together. Is there any better job? Probably not. And my leveler is, if anything was to happen to the children, everything else would stop. So, I keep that in mind, front and center every day. And what's the most important thing now for raising children? And it is to build their resilience, because we're going to need warriors now, and we all know that. The world is changing and it's evolving in a way that is going to be challenging, I think, for this generation. And we can't have softies. We know we're going to have to build tough kids. And Lilla, who is our 11-year-old, who is out in the paddocks with you, is so adept out here. I think her survival techniques will be so well honed by the time things start to get prickly in the world. I'm hoping that for Lordy as well, and for Venus and Persia, our bigger girls. Well, they've kind of missed that moment. They're going to have to build their resilience their way. But what we have to do now is to create a greater awareness of what it is to survive in the world and be self-sufficient and autonomous and resilient. And that's our job. And that's the one I take most seriously right now.
I want to get to that next bit, and here, Hanamino, future. Just as an example, I'm not sure if I shared it on podcast before, but one of the moments that I was most proud of Lilla, she would have been, I reckon she'd have been Lordy's age actually, so 4. And we were out there burning, took her out there and burning swamp grass out there with a fire torch, and over a couple of days, a couple of afternoons, one time she tripped over and nearly got cooked, but that's another story. I don't think you've told you that bit.
Fox.
But leading up to that or after it sometime, it was in the daytime, and I couldn't, the fire torch was blocked, and I was trying to fiddle with it, and they're quite top heavy, those things, and I was there on the road and it was wobbling around, and she was standing there watching, and she just put a little foot on the top to hold it steady. And I just looked at her and went, you kind of get it. Like, she saw
she's always doing
Dad, or
the need.
Dad in need, and she just thought, well, how can I help? I'll put my foot on there, I'll hold it steady, and Dad can get that thing cleaned out. Okay, we're back. We're having a cup of tea, major interruption.
Sorry.
Understandably, because it just happens when you've got kids.
And no babysitter. So
babysitter, that's
it's
true.
just
that's
us and them, and
that's all good. I think we've found negotiated a deal. Life's a negotiation, isn't it?
Totally.
So I think where we got up to, Angelica, was I was asking you about Hanamino, future here, and how I mean, I think you've touched on, in terms of the overused word of regenerative, but kind of a progressive, positively progressive kind of a approach to life. Your health, your fitness, the psychology, or I guess the work you've done. I mean, to me, that's a big part of, I guess, internal regeneration.
Yes.
Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I think so. It has been a big journey, and it's an ongoing, journey. Oh, I've got an itchy ear. Hang on.
And then the next, I guess, the thing that I'm interested in now, for lots of reasons, is I'll make sure I keep my head in that video there. Is we've got the kids up here kind of in the background a bit too, so if you hear the bit of chirping away there.
Just life goes on.
The journey of Hanamino. The future journey of
Hanamino.
How do you see, what does that look like, and how do you see, what's your role in all that? And how does that kind of help progress your own
Personal journey.
Personal journey.
Well, I have learnt now to assert myself a little more out here. I've always felt as though it wasn't my place to progress anything too much. And I've supported you in everything, in every endeavour that you've had or wanted to do out here, believing that it was your domain and that you understood it, innately. I didn't have the awareness and the appreciation for it as much as you did, so it was really your bag. And as I said, my relationship with the land has changed just simply because watching your journey, your regenerative journey evolve has taught me so much and has created such a beautiful awareness and insightfulness in me about how regenerative farming really translates back to us in terms of regenerative living. And I've been stuck on that for quite some time. I just feel like that's the thing we're not talking about, how the effects of what you do out in the paddocks, how that has an effect on our lives and who we are and how we operate. And so I feel like that part of the story I want to tell out here. So I need to create a nurturing space that enables more learning and encourages more people to come out here and learn how to farm regenerative so that they can turn their lives around and live that way as well. And I think that is also has a lot to do with encouraging more women to come out and be in this space. So I need to create a more feminine kind of environment, because it is a very masculine culture out here. And I've felt that, and I've struggled with that a bit, I have to say, just not knowing how I fit in and where my groove is here. So I think that in terms of building an education facility here so that you can teach people how to farm regeneratively and biodynamically and all the things that go with that, I want to open up the space to encourage women to be here. I actually want to go back as far as just recreating the goddamn sewing circle, as simple and as basic and as primal as that, so that we can gather, we can sit around a fire, we can talk about, personal development, the elemental spirits, we can talk about food and nutrition and growing food, and we can just be slowing our lives down, reconnecting, and starting to talk about what regenerative living actually looks like, feels like, and how available that is to us. And I don't think that has been a successful pursuit in the city, because we're just too distracted, there's just too much going on and too many moments that are interrupted by our busy lives where we, should be prioritizing that sort of gathering more often. We don't. So I think, if we can create a space for people to come here and develop Hanamino as a learning space, I think that would be beautiful. I also want and see the growth of community out here. I want to encourage more like-minded people who are interested in being on the land and people that want to grow food, that just want to learn how to farm, that just need to be, out here, I guess. So that's the vision I have, and I know that that's sort of somewhere meets your vision, and that's why we plan to build an education facility out here. And that's the next project. We've got a few on the go at the moment, but that'll be our next priority, or mine. That's where I'm headed, babe.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and that's something that we talk about a lot. And I guess there's timing around that.
There is timing, but also, I have no doubt that will all evolve according to when it's meant to happen. And I guess, as I've stated before, the world, feels like it's unraveling, and more people are looking to be in a space where they can feel more self-sufficient, and the need to be in community and safety in numbers, I guess it is, but to be able to grow food and to feel supported and not be alone has never felt more important. And I know that because we've somehow found a new family where we've been, the duality of our life is that we live here on farm, but we also spend time in Byron. And while we're educating the children, we're growing another community up there, and they're more interested in being here. And it's really curious because they're just desperate to get out and be on the land. And I just want to have that experience with my newfound friends, because I can see that there's an urgency about that. and I think it'd be really naive to think that we can survive the way we're surviving right now into the future. That's just going to implode, and we all know that intuitively, and there's enough data to back that one up. So, you know, I'd like to be able to start building a sense of communal living out here. How that looks exactly, I'm not sure, because everybody's got to be self-sustaining. You know, we can't support the whole the universe, but we'll do our best to share what we do out here.
Tell me about tribes. What's sort of, you know, we talk about it often, that the whole COVID shows kind of the spicy flu.
The spicy flu.
Spicy flu's kind of created interesting dynamics in society, and you know, we often reflect on, you know, it's been an opportunity, not one that, you know, everyone was necessarily looking for, but I think at this point realised it probably needed to happen, was is finding their tribe.
Totally. I think what's happened is, you know, you either choose to live in fear or to live in, you know, a positive mindset. And I've chosen to see the positives out of what's been going on, as much as I've had my moments of terror, and they are real and they are true, because the change has been exponential. And my fear, I think, is born of what will happen to the children if they don't know the world the way we know it. But that's probably going to be a good thing, isn't it? You know, we're a bunch of softies and we need to toughen up our children. So, tribes, you know, we naturally gravitate to the place. Energetically, we find our tribes. You know, and when you get rid of the people that don't necessarily vibe into your tribe vibe, you find that the people that you need the most, that understand the mission that you're on the most, just emerge. And we found that even with our Byron crew, we've opened up a space where people have just gravitated towards us because of our spirit group, and learning more about, you know, the anthroposophical, you know, Steiner-based lectures that we're learning.
Yeah.
I'm just finding that just so fascinating, that's introduced a whole new tribe to us as well. And tribes are important. We need to feel that, you know, we're building a place for our tribe to live and be a support network for each other. And I think we can do that out here.
That's the way the world used to operate, isn't it? When
Yes.
You know, tribal societies tended to work pretty well.
Well, I think the main objective, you know, survival is, you know, you've got to look after the planet, and you've got to be making sure that, you know, to enable a tribe to survive and thrive, you've got to, you know, care for Mother Nature. And we haven't been doing that. And our tribes are starting to disperse and disband, and we're all over the place. And I think when you have a like-minded tribe that wants to find a place where we can really have reverence for the planet and each other, I think that sounds like a healthier way to live. And I'm happy to kind of opt out of the system for a bit to see how that goes. You know, like I have no doubt that that's where we'll end up.
Well, without going down the rabbit hole, I think there's a lot of pushes on society at the moment. You know, I'm just looking at Australia, that it's kind of, there's another fork in the road. You know,
Absolutely.
people can choose to kind of do as they're told, and the convenience of just kind of, oh well, I'll just go this
Follow
way,
the
and
norm.
it feels easy and comfortable, and you know, not challenging, and it does. But that from what I'm seeing and feeling, that comes with hidden challenges that are probably a bit down the track. You know,
I think so, and I think we can all choose to be aware and awake to what is transforming here.
not woke.
No, not woke. I know you hate the woke word, but I you know, like, that's a choice. You can be lazy and apathetic and just, you know, continue on the way we've been going. But I think you're just not looking at the reality of the situation, and you're not diving deep enough into the underlying issues. So yeah, I choose to read between the lines. and there's enough data to support what I'm thinking. I'm not going to lecture anybody in, you know, how to live or what choices to make here and now, because that's not for me to do. I'm just talking to you in a, you know, in a pretty humble setting, just suggesting that I have an inkling that we need to make some changes so that we can survive in the new world, because there is a new world order about to, you know, take hold, and I want to be prepared for that in the best way possible.
And taking out the context of the last 2 years and what you see and read, not on mainstream media anyway.
Well, we don't watch mainstream media.
No.
Is that okay to admit that?
Totally. I mean, it's, you know, for me it feels like a good thing anyway. You know, the focus back on community, the focus on your tribe. You know,
well,
what it's become is what has been created, whether we like it or not, is a filter for, it's a friendship filter in a way.
Absolutely, it is, and the quality of those friendships is so important right now, because, you know, I think we've moved away from anything that wasn't feeling emotionally supportive, or, you know, that just wasn't serving us in our lives, and that's sometimes a tricky thing to do. But you have to acknowledge that when you're growing in this space, you have to let go of some things along the way, because if they're not serving you, they have to go. And what was the point you were making before? I just was saying about, go back to what you said before.
Building of tribes, the filter, the friendship filter,
yeah.
the kind of...
no, I just had a point to make, but my brain's gone. Yeah, so I just think that's something that we're going to have to mindfully create. And I want that for the kids too. I want that for the kids to be in an environment where they can play, be in nature, learn, create their genius out here. And I just don't think the system is supporting that. I was talking about something about, I can't remember, it's gone. It's gone, it happens.
I'm sure it will come back.
I'm sure it will. I'll let it go. It'll find its way back in.
Just looking at the time, we need to get ourselves going somewhere else anyway. And I am thinking we've still got to do our little Patreon gig, which is the Q&A, little quick Q&A for our Patreon members who have signed up for a monthly subscription to our group, our private, I don't think like words, exclusive.
Exclusive. I don't know, it's like being part of a club, and some people are in and some people are not.
That's well, that's a choice.
Don't you dare turn up in denim.
No, it's a choice, double denim. What do they call it? Canadian dinner suit or something?
Yeah, that one.
Don't take offence, any of our Canadian listeners. We love you. Patreon. So for the price of, you know, a couple of
cafes,
organic oat chais, or probably even less actually.
Like $8 a pop.
Yeah, that's right. Not that much.
No.
You get the transcripts of every episode, monthly webinar with our guests or a guest that you guys help to choose, and also a weekly little update video from me. And also, if you sign up and you've got 2 months to work out whether you actually want to keep your subscription or not, we will fully refund your 2 month subscription, with no questions asked.
That's generous.
Yeah, well, it's just taking
nice.
called a risk. It's a Glenn Carlson idea, which I loved.
You mean Greg?
Greg.
Love you, Greg. Glenn.
No, his interview came out a few years ago, and it was I've had so much good feedback about that.
He's just an awesome person.
Lovely.
Yeah.
What's that noise?
There's a monkey in the other room.
Which probably means we should be wrapping up pretty soon.
Okay.
Oh, one thing. I just want to reference Tony Robbins, because when we
forgot to talk about him and our
Robbo. We did a lot of his stuff, didn't I? I did UPW without you.
That's right.
4-day course.
Baby's not going on.
Or I'll get Baby in a minute.
Okay. Hang on. You want to sit with Mum? You want to sit with Mum and just have a little camp?
He's ready for sleep.
He is ready for sleep.
Okay,
Do you want to just sit on Mum's lap?
though.
You want to sit on Mum's lap for a minute? Or do you want to go and do that and I'll talk about Tony Robbins?
No, I love listening about Tony Robbins.
Because you got a crush on Tony.
Crush on him.
So UPW, and then we did Date with Destiny together.
It was just so mind-blowing, wasn't it?
Days. I think Lily was about this age.
Yes, she was. It was so great.
The Goldie.
Yeah.
And then, hang on, buddy. And then there was, then I went to Fiji and did business mastery for 4 or 5 days. That was fantastic.
Yes.
I must dig up those notes because they are invaluable. What's up, mate? Oh.
Okay.
What?
Okay. Daddy's just.
There's one last thing, and so Robbo, we'll put him in the show notes because he's just fantastic. So many nuggets of gold there, and he's still doing it. Goals. You mentioned before about goals. You were trying to dull down the goals thing.
Well, I just think it's such a pressure right now with so much else going on that the goal-oriented lifestyle is just isn't serving me.
You're just slapping Tony Robbins in the face.
No. I love Tony Robbins, and it was just so pertinent then in that time of our lives. But the demands outside of, achieving other things, the demands within the family group and dynamic are just so great right now. Making sure everybody stays alive and sane and healthy for me is so overwhelming. And maybe I'm investing too heavily in the whole concept, but I just took away the list and the box ticking because it was causing me grief, because I'm just not that multifunctional, and I wasn't able to satisfy, that goal ticking, and it was killing me. So I just went, no, okay, remove that, take that away, focus on what feels important to you, which is the health and well-being of my family and myself. That's a full-time freaking job. I'm sorry. And if you're able to manage the, dynamic career and the children and the husband and the beautiful marriage and healthy food on the table every day, good on you. I think you're brilliant, but I just can't do it. So something had to give.
It's on.
Yeah.
Oh, what a good boy.
And so, no goals for me this year anyway. We'll set goals, but they have to be simplified. They can't be too outlandish.
Well, I guess
just hang on, because the goal we've made for here is to achieve all the things we just discussed, which is to create community, bring people back to the land, share the wisdom and knowledge of biodynamics and regenerative farming, be true to that. That's a goal. But it doesn't seem overwhelming because it's part of the lifestyle we already live.
Yeah. We're that's in the pipeline. What's that, buddy? He wants one of those Arnott's trucks. Do you want one of those trucks up there?
Grab a truck, darling.
Grab a truck.
Grab it, darling. And then just keep quiet for a minute.
Your great-grandfather's collection.
Yeah.
Pretty
Don't
cute.
trash it.
Yeah.
It's been around a while. Yeah, so does that make sense?
Oh, totally.
You can have one of those, darling.
Yeah, well, you can look at it.
He can have it.
You'll score it one day. No, have a look.
Glue it together.
I didn't want you to say that.
No, Daddy's being facetious.
Dad, how rude.
You're so rude.
So we're going to wrap it up. And for the Patreon peoples, you're going to get the extra bit, which you're going to do straight away. If you're interested, get on charliearnott.com.au, click on the Patreon button, and you will be finding yourself with all sorts of other cool show transcripts and monthly webinars and a weekly update from me.
So does that mean someone's going to transcribe again just how we met?
Yeah, it'll be written.
Oh, God.
Mum, I was getting two.
That's
There's
great,
two of them.
darling. Is
Angelica,
there another question?
Yeah,
Did you have another question for me?
Oh, no, was there one that I said I need to ask you?
You were going to ask me a question.
No future here, Robbo.
Okay,
Goals.
that's fine.
That was it. We've got Q&A.
All right,
next.
well, I hope I just didn't dribble.
No, it was fantastic. I can't believe you didn't cry. I thought you'd be going to be
No,
crying
I
more.
think I was probably a bit nervous. So, you're just warming me up now. I think we could get started now if you like.
What do you interview? Oh, I thought you were talking about something.
It's so Benny
I thought
Hill,
you were
the
talking about
best of
something
times.
Okay, that's a wrap. Thanks everyone for your patience because of the interruption there in the middle.
It was a very fraught conversation, but it was just a little conversation that I'm grateful for having.
Yes, I'm grateful that you wanted to share.
Well, I'm grateful for you.
Got over your anxiety.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother story, isn't it? We'll talk about that next time.
I've got Q&A now. Thanks, Angelica.
Thanks, Charlie Arnott.